Hey everyone, welcome to the Happy Flosser Podcast. My name is Billy Lunt. I am your host, and I'm here to talk to you about all things dental hygiene to support you on your journey through the dental hygiene program. And today on this Helpisode, I have Claudia Walder with me, and her and I have been just chatting. Her and I could talk for hours, honestly. I met Claudia at RDH Evolution this summer, and she is just one of a kind. I am so excited to have her on the podcast today. Welcome, Claudia.
Hey, Billy, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we can talk about all things dental hygiene, honestly. But trying to narrow it down to support the needs of students, that's our goal for today. Because I know you and I could talk about any topic, but to just narrow it down to our dental hygiene students, I'd like to start with your component and start there and just branch out.
Yeah, well, I'm out in California and I am part of the Tri-County component, and our component composes of part of Los Angeles, part of Riverside, and part of San Bernardino County. And those are three really large counties in the Southern California area. And San Bernardino and Riverside and part of the Los Angeles area, my component is probably responsible to educate a community that is a little bit less served. So the demographic of the population is a little bit less served in my component. So it's really important to me to be part of my component to help educate the community in my area.
Yeah. And you are the student liaison for your component?
I am. I'm the student liaison, and I am responsible to visit with, let's see here, one, two, three, four dental hygiene programs in my component.
Wow, so you're in direct contact with the students in your area. That's fantastic.
I certainly try.
I love hanging out with dental hygiene students. They're pretty much my favorite. So, well, and so what drives you to be part of the component?
Well, I have been fortunate in my role as a professional educator with different companies that I've been able to go into the school, to the hygiene programs, and educate the students as well as the faculty on the different products and the different uses of oral health care aids. And I just love interacting with the students and just having an opportunity to really think back and really break down, kind of reverse engineer how I am explaining how to use a particular healthcare aid, whether it's a proxy brush or a water pick. And so it stemmed from, educating with oral healthcare aids, and then kind of going one step further and revealing what my passion is for the students and how I've been able to do that with being a part of my county component and being able to educate them about membership and being a part of the component and how fulfilling it is. Especially we hear the topic over and over about burnout, and when you take a step back and you really give of yourself and give of your time, and when you see these students who they're working relentlessly to be able to earn their license, to be able to have your role. Their dream and their goal is to have what you have right now. And, it sheds a lot of light on what we need to be thankful for and appreciative of. And when you see their excitement and you see them learn or discover Yeah, it's really fulfilling and it really helps to, I think, reduce the burnout and just, just create that cohesion and build that bridge between these future graduates here, new grads, and yeah, just strengthen our community. I think it's so important.
Yeah, and I think when you and I were talking before, you had said graduation day is the beginning of the learning, right? As you
Yeah,
mentioned the bridge.
it really is. There's only so many hours while you're a student to learn. And by the time that you graduate, a lot of technology now is changing. And so by the time you get your first job, there might be new instruments, there might be new um, prophy paste. There's this great new technology with things like, EMS airflow and guided biofilm, all these new things, different types of syringes and anesthetics. And I mean, so you're obligated to force yourself and make yourself accountable to, stay up to date and continue your education.
Yeah, that must be terrible to think that you're behind the eight ball when you graduate. You're already behind in your learning.
Well, I didn't even realize that when I first graduated. It took me a long time to realize that. Like, I went into an office. Now, I don't want to date myself, but we didn't have digital radiographs when I was a student. So I learned films. When I'm talking about x-rays, a lot of times I say films. Oh, we need 6 films. And the younger generation, they're looking at me like, what?
I know.
Um, so we called them films. I didn't even learn how to use a sensor as a student, and I had to learn on the job.
Mhm.
And that was really quick,
Yeah, like right away.
right away.
Yeah, and I think that's a great example. There might be a student who graduates and goes into an office and they're using iTero scans on all their patients, and maybe they didn't have that exposure in dental hygiene school, or they're using AI technology with their radiographs or something that they're just completely unfamiliar with. And I think it's a good realization. I think you said it best that you become your own professor once you graduate.
Right, like what what CE courses am I going to be taking? You don't think of it. At first I thought about, oh, I have to fulfill X number of CEs for my license renewal. And I thought, okay, another thing of responsibility, of an obligation. But it really is, it's an opportunity. How are you going to get yourself excited? You need to get excited about learning. And
Yeah.
what environment are you creating for yourself to set that tone?
Yeah, and all these things that you're saying lead to avoiding the burnout phase. Honestly, everything it channels down to burnout if you're not proactively thinking about all of these things for sure.
And I think it's important for us to realize as dental hygienists, it's not just dental hygiene that have career burnout. I have a lot of friends in nursing, in physical therapy, in ophthalmology, physicians. We all have burnout. A lot of teachers, friends, we all go through stages of burnout. But what are we doing for ourselves to network with our colleagues? What are we doing to refresh maybe refresh our wardrobe to help us feel a little bit more excited about our scrubs? Or what are we doing to learn about new things? Taking time off, going on a mission trip. What are we doing to keep ourselves engaged and not to be afraid? Like, oh, I've had burnout. That's it. I better look for something out of the op. Well, maybe if you're able to cut back one day, or maybe push yourself to look for a role in a different type of office.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to think about working in perio, or maybe it's time to think about public health, or whatever the case may be. If you're able to reduce one day, cut back one day in your work week, that might help to clear up, clear up your mind and have a different mindset.
Yeah. You know, it struck me when you said giving back or joining your component, because I will say that I had a realization that I was probably burnt out when I repeated myself to the same patient one time. I had asked the patient a question and they said, "You just asked me that." And I was like, "Oh." And it was in that moment I realized I had put myself on autopilot. And I don't even know for how long I had been on autopilot as a dental hygienist. I think I was probably a hygienist for about 6 years at that point. And I was like, oh, what do I need to do to reinvent myself? And it was give back to others, take some CE classes, learn something new, develop myself, get a new role. And I hit the ground running after that because I was like, I could just stay on autopilot and not be
Hmm.
happy, or I could just start moving forward. And so all of these things you're saying, and networking is so critical. I know we've talked about that as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's really important as you're approaching graduation. Don't wait until you graduate, but be right before graduation, and even while you're a student now, to look for a mentor. And don't worry if you don't know anybody in dental hygiene or dentistry. Ask your professors. Um, Maybe you're going to be relocating, but ask your professors, do you know anyone in this town where I'm living that's a dental hygienist that I might be able to reach out to as a mentor? And get in contact with them beforehand. Someone who's already been practicing dental hygiene, and let them know, I'm moving to your town. I'm looking for a mentor. You might not be best friends, but at least they might be able to guide you to how to join your component, and or let you know about offices that have opportunities for job openings, or they're going to tell you about great CEs. They might warn you about offices to avoid. Um, it's uh, uh, two minds are better than one. And
For sure.
so I can't encourage you enough to look for a mentor.
Yeah, it's so valuable because sometimes even if that mentor doesn't give you much advice or guidance, it's somebody that you know is there
Mhm.
that you can, if you have a question or a crisis or a win, you can call and it's helpful for you. That's really true. Because we want to continue to grow. And
Yeah,
how
we have to keep growing. Otherwise, like you said, when we graduate, we're, the first year, maybe even two, we're really struggling to learn how to stay on time, learn how to like complete that appointment and feel good about it. And then we get in our routine and we feel comfortable, second year, third year. And after third year, you can kind of get on autopilot. But how are you going to let yourself learn to launch from the stability that you've created in your routine and really grow and take it a step further? And now that you've been able to manage your time management, what are you going to incorporate into your schedule or your routine, or just even into your operatory? Just not too long ago, I decided I had taken a class. Um, I took a first aid class with a bunch of neighbors who they were all educators and speech path therapists. And they were talking about their back to school and decorating their classroom and having um, a board, in their classroom for their welcome back week. And I decided in my operatory, I made like a bulletin board, and I put all this fun little stuff, and my boss was like, "What are you doing now, Claudia?" Like, And I made it kind of like back to school, back to the op. And I put, has it been a while since you've been into the dental office? Welcome. We're happy to have you here. And I just put like information if you're someone who hasn't been into the dental office lately. And it made people, a lot of patients said, oh, I never thought about that. It made me feel good and not afraid to be honest and say, I haven't been to the dentist since before COVID.
Mhm.
And that's okay. Everyone is at their own starting point, and you have to meet people where they're at.
Yeah. That's such a nice idea to like turn it into something that makes you approachable as a clinician and really speaks to the patient. I love that idea.
Once a month, I try to like change it up and put a new topic on, like whether it's about nutrition, things that don't seem that are dental related, but are more health related. I did one about blood pressure. I did one about vitamins and probiotics. Um, I did one just about general health fairs in the community, um, and try to bring community health things into the dental office. So if patients, maybe they had only been in for an emergency, but hey, there's a health fair going on, and if you've had little ones, they're doing things for, health fair. I did one about some, there was a mobile mammography van that was going around, so I put some of their flyers on the bulletin board there too. Just things to make patients feel that your dental health visits are just as important as your primary care visits, your woman wellness visits. And if you haven't had those, the dental office is guiding and pointing you in that direction too.
I love that because that's a collaborative approach to care in a way that's very passive and doable. And oftentimes patients are in our operatories waiting for an exam,
Hmm.
and that could be a great conversation starter. You just never know who's going to read whatever it is you've put there. And it's almost like a public health bulletin board where you're
Right.
speaking to anyone who's buying that. I love that. And you can really cater it to the needs of the patient population that comes in. Oh,
Hmm.
and you got this idea from your neighbor friends. I love that.
Yeah. It had nothing to do with dentistry, but I was like, that's fun, like how do we some bright colors, the flyers, I put everything there and I try to make it engaging and not something that like, I always had these laminated little posters of floss technique and brush technique. And I would introduce it to the patients and people would be like, yeah, yeah, I've seen that kind of thing before. But when you're putting it directly on the wall and you're making it like a bulletin board when you're in school, people tend to give it a little bit more attention, I think.
Yeah, that's such a great idea. I hope that people that are listening are getting inspired to do their own little Claudia bulletin boards in their operatories. Oh my gosh. Well, and then the other thing that we talked about was the oath, and keeping that growth mindset really speaks to that oath that we take. And I know you and I talked about the oath, and do you have anything you'd like to share with students about that?
Yeah, I think we get all excited during our pinning ceremony and we take this oath of it, what we're going to do as a clinician and what we're going to hold up. And I think a lot of times we graduate and we're just concerned about staying on time and we don't always reflect on that. We take an oath to be the best clinicians and caregivers for our patients and our community. But also within that, we're taking an oath to improve ourselves.
Yeah.
And we need to, be cognizant of how we're going to care for ourselves in that oath. How am I gonna how am I gonna alter my routine or my habits? Um, I'm not one that makes big New Year's resolutions, but I really decided I need to change my bedtime. And I'm making an oath to myself that I think sleep is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to change my bedtime habits, I'm going to start going to bed a lot earlier. And I've always been more of a night owl, but I have found that by changing my bedtime routine, everyone's, oh, there's these great apps to change your screen times and all this, that's not, whatever. And it's true, but I started wearing these glasses to help block out the blue lights. I'm cutting down my screen times before bed. I'm going to bed earlier. I'm waking up earlier. And I'm at work and I have more time to really be engaged and not thinking of the stress that I had to go through in the morning, in the drive, the commute, getting ready, blah, 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 blah. Did I forget to turn on the dryer because I put in a load of laundry? No, I have all this extra time and I'm so much more well rested and I'm there and I'm prepared and I have more to give to my patients. And if I have more to give at the beginning of the day, then I'll still have some reserves for myself at the end of the day.
I love that. I love that you took the oath and didn't make it all about patients because it it ultimately becomes about the patient, but we have to start with ourselves.
Right.
We have to start with ourselves. And I know I talk to students about their sleep habits and, finals week, they look like dish rags. They're exhausted. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, get some rest over the break. But the same things hold true when they graduate. And when we were at Evolution, Michelle Prince spoke and she said, get up an hour earlier. That's how you find the time to do all of the things. Now, I have a very strict bedtime routine. I am diligent about I go to bed between 9 and 10 p.m. every single night. I'm very dedicated to that. And she sat and told all of us, looked us in the face and said to get up at 4 a.m. And I said, "Oh my goodness, girl." I don't know.
It's
How are you doing with that?
it's right. Well, today I did wake up at 4 a.m. Um, it wasn't intentional, but I'm more of about 5:30.
Hmm.
Um, I do on occasion wake up at 4 a.m. And when I do, I accomplish so much. I'm able to accomplish so much. And I just have a better mindset, that I've read different blogs about the 4 a.m. club and 5 a.m. club women.
Yeah.
And it really challenges you it just alters everything about your lifestyle. And you're able to achieve more. And once you start achieving, certain tasks, it just lifts you and catapults you into another level of achievement and growth mindset. And it doesn't have to be like career driven this way, um, but it could be more health driven or it could be spiritually driven. And whatever, lane that you're looking to improve yourself in, it really allows you more time to be honest with yourself and make yourself accountable and able to achieve those goals.
Yeah. I have to say I've experienced that exact thing, getting, setting that intention of getting up at 4, and I don't know what it is. It's like a magic hour of real accomplishment, no matter what it is you're trying to accomplish. It seems like your brain it's almost like your subconscious mind is quiet or something. I don't
Mhm.
know. So, well, I wish you luck on that, going to bed earlier, Claudia. I think that's a great that's a great start for 2025.
Yeah, thanks. I'm trying. I'm working on it. I used to be a more of a night owl, even like up to like 11 or 12. Now I'm about 10:30. My ideal goal would be between 9 and 9:30.
Mm. I have no doubt that you'll achieve that, especially if you start getting up at 4 more often. It will
I
just
hope.
naturally happen, for sure, for sure. And I appreciate you mentioning that because I think students need to hear that as a hygienist, the self-care part is so important. You can't show up for your patients if you haven't created an environment for yourself to be full and ready to go.
Exactly. You can't support anybody if you can't support yourself. You have to support yourself first. And deviates from it deviates from a lot of the typical personality traits that most of us dental hygienists have. We're all givers. Most of us are we've had this type of mindset where we need to, be available to everybody at any given time of the day. And it's very difficult to navigate in the beginning boundaries and understanding that you're not serving others if you don't serve your needs. You have to serve those needs to keep you healthy so that you can serve others.
Mm. Well said. It's taken me a long time to learn that myself.
I'm still on that road some years later.
It's okay. I'll just replay this episode a few times so I can hear your words. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well, Claudia, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your advice and your camaraderie and your support for our students. I'm so glad that you're the student liaison. They're very lucky to have you out in California.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been so much fun, Billy.
Yeah. And for listeners, thank you guys for listening. I hope you're having a fantastic start to your weekend because I drop these episodes every Friday because that's the best part of the week for some of you students. You're looking forward to a good weekend. If you could be kind to leave a review and like and share this podcast with others, I greatly appreciate it. Have a great week, guys. We'll talk to you soon.